I do.
It looks like we are live. Paul Colligan, how are you, my friend?
I'm better now. I'm in the room with Mike.
Give me one moment here. Of
No
course,
problem.
am having a little bit of hardware difficulty. Forget it. All right, out with this bud. Now let's talk.
Let's do it, Mike. We'll make this happen,
Okay.
man. It
Fantastic.
wouldn't be the Mike and Paul show if we didn't have some sort of technical gizmos having us problems.
Brand new IFB, and these are generally really good, but I have two of them, and they took a little while to talk. There we go. Scott Lawrence just said hi, so nice to see you, Scott. And Paul, we are doing a little show. We've been talking about doing this for a long time.
Yes.
And let me get my notes.
You know the topic?
God. Yeah, this is what happened. I'm just like, oh my God. But here's what's important. First of all, it's a total pleasure to be doing one of these events with you. It's been way too long, and we've been talking about it for a long time. And our goal today is to talk about monetizing a podcast. So I'm going to let you really go crazy here to go through. We promised 5 different ways to monetize a podcast. We're actually doing 3 shows today. And our goal is to really just have one of our spirited conversations, talk about not only what's working now, but what we want to try out. And we're also going to be talking about through a couple different lenses. One is just a general, here's what's working in terms of monetizing podcasts, but also because you and I generally are working with B2B businesses in general, we are definitely going to bias it in that direction. So with that, we should definitely give everyone a little backgrounder. If you haven't heard of us before, Paul, you want to give everyone a little mini bio?
I've been working in podcasting way too long. Funny thing is, here attending this is Michael Council, the old editor of the Portland Business Journal. We had lunches together talking about podcasting, back way before it was cool. And Mike, you brought me on board with your company for a little while because we were doing the podcasting thing. We built tools for podcasting. We brought in clients for podcasting. Then you had that whole cancer thing. And then, went away for a little while. Then we came back. And now what's funny is you've got the podcasting religion bad. My joke was always 1 step ahead, you're a visionary. 2 steps ahead, you're a martyr. I was about 7 steps ahead, which is part of the problem. But now you're podcasting your brains out. I'm podcasting my brains out. We've got 16 clients that we're building podcasts for, and they all want to monetize. And so that is what we're going to be chatting about today.
Right on. If you're not familiar with me, Mike Koenigs, founder of the Superpower Accelerator. Really what I do now is I work with owners of B2B businesses, help them build brands, get attention, elevate their brand status, authority, charge more money, and reach their customers through better stories, and then leverage technology for that as well. So if you're around for our other shows that Paul and I are going to do, well, you're in for a big treat because we're also going to talk about in another episode, the 5 ways to grow your podcast followers and also 10 AI-powered marketing tools, something we're super excited about. So what do you say we dive into it, Paul?
Let's do this. And let's start with number 1, because this is a term that you have come up with that I love, that I'm just blatantly stealing. We have always, in the podcasting space, never been about ads. And we'll chat about that a little bit. We've been about what podcasting makes possible. And you've got this new phrase called the category of one. And what I put for number 1 is just leverage that category of one author position, to do more. This is consulting gigs. This is speaking contracts. This is book contracts. This is, just the things that come from being the category of one that only comes from having a podcast. Chat on that for a minute, Mike.
Well, I believe, and in fact, I've got a little prop. I'll grab it off to the side in a moment. But one of the things that I'm a firm believer in is, first of all, no matter what industry you're in, you need to establish yourself as a category of one. What does that mean? Well, you look at a guy like Elon Musk, for example. He's definitely a category of one. I believe he represents what will become the first $1 trillion personal brand. Now, why do you care about that? Well, it's because when you look at Elon, he has never paid for advertising for any of his businesses.
Right. If Elon were to launch a podcast, there would be no press release. There would be no, media blitz. There would be no nothing. It would simply be Elon has launched a podcast.
Right. Yeah. And anything he touches is elevated by a huge percent. You look at Tesla stock, for example, what SpaceX is doing. Look at Starlink, for example. I've had my order in. I drove a Tesla Roadster back when shortly after they first came out. Early on. Yeah, and here's what is important about all this. Having a Category 1 brand means you stand out and you don't have any visible competitors. Or someone will say, well, you're kind of like, and it's like, well, not exactly like. Right. So it is possible to create a Category 1 brand. And people often say, well, let's say, for example, you sell insurance or you sell financial instruments. And my attitude would be, well, there's only you with your transformational stories that you've provided value to someone, or you may have a unique way of communicating. But at the end of the day, you can become a Category 1. I don't care what business or industry you're in, even if you're selling an MLM product, for example. Not my favorite industry in the world,
right.
But
talk about Justin Donald. Talk about Justin Donald here in Category 1.
Yeah, let me I've got a prop right around. I'm going to just
all right,
grab
you're going to get that. I'm going to
just
chat about another Category 1 while you do that. So Barbara Annis, Gender Intelligence Group, definitely Category 1. In today's crazy world, having intelligence about gender is amazing. And what she's done is she has created an entire industry around gender intelligence. And at the launch of her show, which we did recently, all of a sudden the downloads started coming. No press release, no media blitz. It's just, oh my goodness, Barbara has a podcast. And from that podcast, we're not selling, mattress ads. We're not selling, whatever they're selling these days on podcasts. It is multi-million-dollar consulting contracts for the Gender Intelligence Group that's coming from this. This is real money in podcasting, so much better than, a GoDaddy domain name or something like that. But Justin's another example. Right. So show that off.
Yeah, let me do this. So backstory behind this guy, his name's Justin Donald. I met him in Fiji a couple of years ago. And we started talking, and this is a guy who had gone from having no platform at all, like no visibility whatsoever. When I talked to him, he had a very unique strategy to how he invested. So we met, and what we wound up doing is giving him a brand. In this case, we called him the Lifestyle Investor, which we trademarked, and then wrote a book. And it's the 10 Commandments of Cash Flow Investing for Financial Income and Passive Income and Financial Freedom. So this book hit #1 on Wall Street Journal 2 weeks after it was released. And he's now got a fantastic following, a $50,000 mastermind, $250,000 to work with him directly. But having that great Category 1 brand, he's the only guy who is the Lifestyle Investor. It's trademarked in the world right now. Now, someone else could technically start talking about it, but now he's got legal protection. So the key is finding a way to enhance and describe your superpower and package it in a way along with either your own stories or the stories of transformation you provided for your clients. That's really the way I look at it. So
and that's where the real money is, but let's keep going. Let's go a little bit further.
All right.
Next
rock and roll.
Collecting emails. I know this sounds, every day something's been killing email. Every day something's been killing podcasting. Every day something's been killing direct mail. The fact of the matter is there is a lot of revenue to be made from email addresses. And podcasts are one of the perfect ways to collect an email address. And I will give you an example of how. This is going to be repurposed as a podcast. I'm going to tell everybody to head out to headsuptuesday.com, my email newsletter, where every Tuesday we give you a heads up of what you need to know in the podcasting and online media space. And again, that's it, headsuptuesday.com. See, I just collected an email address, and there's no reason why you can't collect an email address. And let me give you a hack to this that's so easy and so simple. People say, well, you're doing video right now with Mike and you're looking good and you're having a great time, and audio, you lose a lot. Exactly. If Mike and I were to be showing slides, information, screenshots, which we'll be doing, we could say something like, to get a copy of the video, make sure to head out to headsuptuesday.com. So collecting email addresses from a podcast is a old school, but very, very powerful way to monetize the show. Mike, any comments on that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I'm very impatient as a marketer and as a human being in general. And I'm a big believer in ask as soon as possible and monetize as soon as possible. So don't be afraid to ask. and drive people immediately from wherever you're communicating back to your website, and again, make a direct ask. So, for example, one of the things that I'd say right now, and I agree with you completely, Paul, is engage however you can. Your ultimate goal is to capture an email. And here's the reason why. I can say to you right now, by the way, if you aren't following either Paul or me, make sure you do that right now on whatever channel you're watching this on. So if you're on Facebook, YouTube, make sure you like, you comment, you follow, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Now, that's awesome. And the reason for that is never trust a platform, any of them. And we've seen what's going on with the cancel culture today. They're not your friends. Yep, they're giving you a mechanism to deliver your content, a medium. But at the end of the day, you can get canceled for any reason at any time. And where would you be? And I've been saying this forever, back in the early days when YouTube was brand new. I'm like, get them off your platform and into your email list. And, no one listened. And of course, we measure someone's value. And I'm not saying that it doesn't matter, but we measure people's value based upon how many subscribers, how many views we say. And I'm like, the only way to measure is the longevity of your organization and what's in your bank account. Because having a bunch of subs and getting canceled one day doesn't do you a lick of good. Just make sure you're amassing them. So,
and an email list you can take with you. You get shut down for something, or something gets shut down. Let's talk the flip side of this. You and I have been in this long enough that there have been a number of platforms that were going to take over the world that are long since dead. And if we never grab the names and email, what was that?
MySpace.
Exactly. And a few others, okay, boomers. But, the fact of the matter is, if you don't collect email addresses, you don't collect content, you're not going to stick around.
Right on. So
all
true.
Right. The patron model.
Number three.
The patron model. Now, it's funny. Mike and I are not big fans of this.
Nah, it's for poor people to talk to poor people and collect nickels from poor people. In general, but let's talk about our mutual friend. Let's talk about. And what I want to do here is I want to share something. Okay, just like Michael Console said, Friendster. Yep. That's right, Friendster.
Yep. So I'm going to share the screen here. Okay. This is Cord Killers, and this is Tom Webster and our mutual friend in Austin, Texas. You know who I'm talking about. Our fire eater, our scam school. Come on.
Yes.
It's coming to you. It's coming to you.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing.
God, just a second here. I am having a moment. Just a second. Oh, I can't believe I'm spacing right now.
Mike. What? Brushwood. Brian Brushwood.
Brian Brushwood. That's right. That's right.
Here's the thing. Cord Killers, which he does with Tom. Now I want to show something really interesting here, because if we do this, okay. Now you notice in March 15th he had an episode, and March 10th he had an episode, March 10th he had an episode, March 10th he had an episode, March 9th he had an episode, March 3 had an episode. So since March 3, he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 episodes. Now, what's interesting here is if we go over to his Patreon account, wrong one. Oh, I knew this would happen. Actually, we'll go back a little bit now.
While you're doing that, I'll add a couple little nuggets here. Brian is an exception, and he's one of the hardest working, incredible entertainers. I mean, he's got a master's degree, maybe even a PhD in magic. I mean, this guy's done the hard work. And he spent a lot of time performing in bars, doing street magic. He's got not only a combination of he's got the disciplined charisma, and he puts on a great show. And so, and there's no question about it. He makes a fine living. And one good thing about having, if you've got the chops to be an entertainer and be a charismatic, and do plus, increase the size of your text there a little bit. Paul.
Oops, hold on here. Doing the wrong screen.
Command plus. There we go.
There we go.
Right. Yeah, look at that. $1 or $5. And
now, here's what's interesting.
I've told this forever. Go ahead.
Here's what's interesting. He is making $1,236 per episode.
It's
So
God bless them.
there is, again, it's not the model that we play with, but it's a hell of a lot better than the model of, again, doing mattress ads or that kind of nonsense. And
Right
it
on.
goes back to the whole idea of the 1,000 true fans. And really, I would dare say it goes back to the whole idea of the category of one. Brian is in a category of one. When we had him at our event, and I was telling my daughter, we were texting about the sword swallowing. She says, "You've got a guy on your stage, sword swallowing. What are you doing with your life?" Okay. Brian is a category of one, and different ways to frame yourself around that. Again, it's not our favorite thing in the world, but I want to bring it out. Shout out to Mr. Brushwood. Okay. Affiliate relationships. Let's chat about that, Mike.
All right. So here's the bottom line with affiliate relationships is, I often say there's no such thing as passive income. At some point, you're either managing, you're creating a brand, you got to elevate your status, you got to pay for it somewhere. But the beauty of an affiliate relationship is if you have a platform and you promote something, you have no cost of delivery, no operational expenses. And depending on the type of offer you're providing, you can get anywhere from, I suppose, as low as like 10% to sometimes 80% of the price of a program or a product, depending on what it is. So the notion of being able to, like, if I had a gigantic consumer B2C platform, for example, what I would do is I'd get as much as I could from advertisers and sponsors as possible, and then I'd build a list and promote affiliate products. And on one hand, the only negative to doing affiliate products is if that organization suddenly did something evil and could harm your brand. That, of course, wouldn't be good, especially if you had a back catalog of content.
And we'll chat about that in a second. There's a solution to that. We'll chat about that in a second.
Okay. Yes. I know what you're going for here. But the other side of it would be, let's say you build a big downstream and you've got recurring income coming from that partner, and they decide arbitrarily to cut you off one day. That would not be a good thing. So I think it is a challenge, but when it comes down to the easiest money possible, it's build a list, promote an affiliate product, get behind it, especially if you've got the respect of your followers.
Now, Mike also made an interesting comment here, which I think is exactly why we're doing this episode here. Mike says, problem is, if you get all the mechanics right, but you don't have the verbal panache of a Paul Colligan or sidekick Mike, podcasting can be an exercise in utter frustration. Hey, Mike and I go farther back than Mike and I go back. So this one's good. But you see, Mike, this is the thing about these different models. And this is what's really, really key. If you are selling ads, you got to get millions of people to download to make sure this dumb thing works. If you are a category of one consulting contract makes it happen. I'll give you a story. One of my clients, I'm allowed to tell the story. I'm not allowed to say his name. He calls me up. He says, I want to talk about ads. I go, look, long story short about ads, you're going to make about $40 per 1,000 downloads. You have to have at least 10,000 downloads per episode. And by the way, you only have 500. He goes, that's okay. Podcast is doing pretty well. I tell me how the podcast is doing well. We're getting 2 to 3 leads a day. Great. What are you converting? Converting one 5 days a week or 7 days a week? Oh, 7 days a week. So 365 conversions a year, my friend. Yes. What is that worth? $3,000 per person minimum. Look at that. 365 times 3,000 is $1 million podcast with less than 500 downloads per episode. And I'll tell you this, he doesn't have the verbal panache, but he has content and a message and stuff that exactly certain people want to hear and want to pay him $3,000. By the way, it's a lead generation thing. He hands it off to other people, but it is $1 million podcast with no panache, less than 500 downloads per episode, and this thing works. Now, affiliate relationships, getting into bed with the wrong person. Mike and I and Consul and I have not had that problem in the past between the three of us, but...
No, it's never happened once.
But dynamic ads. A lot of people record an ad and it's there forever, and it's embarrassing. There is tech now. We've been doing this for 15 years. The tech has changed. There's the ability to click a button, add an ad, click a button, remove an ad. And there is no reason to set an association with somebody who makes you look bad or to set an association with somebody who puts you in an awkward position. You can use the tech to pull that out like that. Dynamic and complete and very, very doable. And what's interesting is, Mike, have you played with the new podcast beta with Apple?
No, I haven't messed around with it at all.
Used to be, Apple only listed your last 300 shows in search. Okay.
Those
Our
bastards.
mutual friend, what was that?
Those bastards.
Exactly. Our mutual friend, JJ Virgin, has over 650 episodes. Less than half of her catalog is in search. And JJ, on any given month, it's only about 10% of her downloads that are coming from the new stuff. People are going to the back catalog. Guess what? Apple turned on up to 2,000 episodes in the back catalog search. The amount of episodes that JJ is going to find search doubles the day that they release this 14.5 release. And because it is dynamic ad insertion, she's been doing this for so long. I think she did that. She launched this at one of the events that you and I did together. She's been doing this for a while.
Oh, yeah.
But the fact of the matter, click a button, all the ads get updated to whatever she's doing right now. And she could collect the email addresses for that, and she could do the affiliate relation, for the chocolate RX stuff that she's doing. So that dynamic ads marketplace, this changes the game. Go with the place that's got it. So the 5, and I know we've got our 2 other shows to do here, and so we gotta stay clean. We're doing okay, but
yeah, we're doing good.
Leverage a category of 1 authority. Move yourself to a position to where 500 downloads is all you need to pay the bills. It's been done. Number 2, collect emails, because something might go away, and if you keep that email address, you are good to go.
Never trust a platform. Yeah.
What was that?
Never trust a platform. That's It's like, it's just a matter of time before they screw you. And remember, you're the product.
Exactly. And let me give you a fun one. We were hawking our social media. Mike, go ahead. Ask me where you can find me on Facebook.
Colligan.
PaulColligan.com/Facebook.
Facebook. All right.
PaulColligan.com/Facebook. Ask me where I'm at Twitter.
Ladies and gentlemen.
PaulColligan.com/Twitter. See, one day these might go away. I can redirect them to whatever the heck I want. I'm not promoting any platform. I'm promoting my platform. You should do the same, grabbing email addresses for it at places like headsuptuesday.com. Affiliate relationships we chatted about. It's good money. It's solid money. If you're going to do, it's better than ads. And then finally, a dynamic ads marketplace is a way to keep yourself safe in case something wacky happens. What are you smiling at, buddy?
I just decided to call you a love child.
Well, I'll take it.
PaulColligan.com. Visit that love child.
There we go.
But right on. And
so comments on these, man. What do you think? I mean, your favorite's category 1. You're building your entire world around it right now. But
yeah, and I'm a big believer. Again, from my lens, I'm a big believer in selling higher ticket and always moving upstream to a higher value, higher quality client. And like your guy who's getting 3 leads a day and 1 sale a day, great. But I'm always thinking through the lens of how do you get to the point where you're generating $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 per transaction in the shortest period of time, and working with higher value clients. Now it takes a little while to get there. There's no doubt about it. You've got to build a brand. But then, you can do what I would consider cleanup with your smaller products. If someone's not a buyer with your highest ticket thing, then you downsell. But don't start on the low end and go up. I think the traditional escalation model blows, and I would always look at selling to your top 2%, your 0.2%, whenever possible. Again, I'm speaking about a B2B environment, but the fewer the transactions, the fewer moving parts, the less drama. That to me is a great way. And again, I'm biased towards simplicity and lifestyle. If you want to be a manufacturer or do something that blows up and changes the world and has 10,000 employees, God bless your soul, go for it.
Let's combine a couple of these. Console, verbal panache. Let me tell you somebody who has no verbal panache. Okay? Let me tell you somebody who has absolutely zero. He runs SpaceX. Have you ever seen that guy speak?
Yeah, doesn't matter.
He's boring.
He's a genius.
He's
a horrible speaker.
He's kind of but it doesn't matter.
Richard Branson. Sorry?
Richard Branson. Yeah. He lost to Trump. That can't be too hard. Sorry, I didn't say that. And the fact of the matter is, when you are a category of one, so much else is unnecessary. Scrolling through podcasting, if I scrolled through podcast, and saw a lifestyle investor show, not only does he own that, but that's a show I'm going to listen to. Who doesn't want to be a lifestyle investor? So much better than the
passive income.
Yeah, exactly. It's so much better than the investor show or investing today or, that kind of nonsense. So it's a mindset change that is so different from the chat about which microphone do I want to buy and what platform do I find myself on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a complete and total strategy to reach these people. What's interesting is, the old model, we had to find enough people in our town to make a living, or we had to print catalogs. We had to print enough catalogs to find enough people elsewhere to make a living. Now you're doing huge business right now with people who don't even want to get on a plane anymore. So you're doing it through, a $20 a month Zoom account because category of one. That can translate to podcasting. I've got a client right now. Now we're not going to talk about him. But the fact of the matter is, Mike says either speak well or make $1 billion and people pay attention. Yeah, I know some people made $1 million where people paid attention as well. So, I think it's somewhere between the two, Mike. It's so much fun to have you on the show.
Yeah, it is. And here's what I feel the same way, Paul. You know that. I think what we always have to remember is you can't get anywhere if you're not great at getting attention, first of all. And then it's get attention, move to how do you gain trust and build trust? And then how do you tell the right story framed in such a way that elevates the audience enough so they feel so comfortable and trusting towards you that they're willing to make a transaction? And that, I think that holds true. It doesn't matter what business you're in. If you're a pure entertainer and you're surviving on advertising, then you've got to be in the volume game. And, selling advertising historically has been challenging, So again, I look at it and say, where can you have the fewest moving parts and be able to profit from a small audience? Because building a big audience is tough. And one thing I will tell you, when I really, really think about it, and this is after, I don't know if you thought about it too, Paul, but people generally speaking, who are your best interviewees, best on the show, generally what they have is they've got speaking background. They've spent a lot of time speaking. They've already done a lot of interviews. Or they have a theater and an acting background. They just understand how to inhabit their body and provide value through their body, and that is really important. And I'll give you, this is a shameless plug for some episodes of my podcast. But I interviewed Roger Love, Paul, and in the most recent episode, which I think is going live, I got to check, tomorrow, I believe, or end of the week. Here it is. So it's not on right now, but what I'll do is I'm actually going to activate it and make it public right now. It's on YouTube. But it's the latest episode of Capability Amplifier, one of my podcasts. And what's great about this is I had Roger Love critique my voice. And we talked about what it takes to become more interesting. Because and I just opened it up and I said, hey, I've got you for an hour. I'm going to be super selfish.
Right.
And if someone doesn't know who Roger Love is, he's the most talented, well-recognized voice and singing coach in the world. And he coached Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born. He taught Reese Witherspoon how to sing as Johnny Cash's wife, and she had never sang before. So, I mean, this guy can pull off miracles, and he really, really provided some huge value. So I'll make sure that thing is activated and on in just a couple moments as soon as this is done. But definitely check out that episode with Roger Love.
And that you can find more about that podcast where, Mike?
Capabilityamplifier.com, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Now, Mike, you just said something very not popular in the podcasting space right now. What you have suggested is that interviewing is not a process of spamming everybody who has a podcast and asking if you can, they can come on your show. Interviewing is a skill. Interviewing is a style. Interviewing is a learned art. I think this is important.
Takes a ton of practice to get good at it and be able to keep an audience, focused and engaged. And, and then I think there's one question that popped up. Paul, do you want to take that from Daniel before we, here you go.
Here we go. So what's interesting here, Daniel, is we're going to deconstruct here, and feel free to leave a comment if you'd like. Daniel says, how do I monetize a list? I have 15,000 people on my database. Okay, you have 15,000 people on a database because you have something to offer them. Okay, you don't get 15,000 by just saying, subscribe to my newsletter. Nobody does that. So the fact of the matter is they signed up for you because some kind of promise. They signed up for you because you promised to deliver something, and 15,000 of them did. Now, I don't know how many are live. I don't know how many are good. I don't know all those questions. But the fact of the matter is, that happened because you promised something. How do you make money on that promise? How do you make money on that delivery? And, it might have been the low end that Mike spoke to at the beginning, but that is where you start. And I'll tell you this, it's not... The mattress companies are doing really well in podcasting because they're getting their word out to thousands of people. It's a spray and pray kind of situation. The podcasters who are selling the mattresses, not so much. They're sort of the victim to what's going on right now. But the fact of the matter is, you built a list that big because your audience wants something from you. Now you figure out how to monetize it. That's what I'd say to Daniel. What would you say?
What I would do is, first of all, I'd need to know more about what you sell to and who your audience is. I look at everything through a filter of its market, model, message, media. So who's your ideal perfect audience? Who do you want to be a hero to? That's going to be who you're going to target. What's your business model? How are you going to make money? What are the words you need to say? That's the message in order to engage someone to make them want you. And then what's the channel you're going to push it through? If it were me, the more you know about your audience, the better. And if you can create some sort of a high ticket offer, especially one that you don't have to fulfill or deliver, i.e. have an affiliate offer, especially if it's high ticket, and if you could get paid not only when you create the engagement or pass that lead on, but then you get ongoing income after the initial sale. So if you could have a 2-tier relationship with a partner, no work, money coming in, and you get paid on an ongoing long-term basis. And if that works once, man, that's what I would be focusing my energy on, is building more of the database of those right fit buyers. But you pay attention to who takes interest in it, who buys it, who sticks, and figure out how to get more people like that. This is always a who game. All of marketing is, all of podcasting is. It's just understanding your who. And Paul, you nailed it earlier. I would rather have 5 or 50 or 500 of the right fit people than I would have 5 million on my list, because 5 million are going to turn against you at any time. And you probably are talking to lowest common denominators about lowest common denominator things. And who the hell needs that in your life?
And by the way, good tip, if you're selling something on your newsletter, on your email, okay, and about 10% of the people don't unsubscribe as a result, you're not selling enough. It's just, it's a real simple number. If they signed up for you to sell them something and you don't do it, go with it, pay attention to this. I want to we got to close this up, Mike, because we got 2 others of these to do. And forever,
another episode coming right up.
Wherever you are watching us, this will change to a different stream, right, Mike? Because we're doing these 3 different.
Yeah, elements. We are. So just wherever you are, wherever you're watching us, and look for the next episode.
Hit refresh and come back. But I do want to wrap this up. The top 5 ways are not get ads. The top 5 ways are not get 1 million downloads. The top 5 ways are make a real connection with an audience that puts them in a position where the relationship is real and long-term. And you can do that through, we put category 1 first because it is, everything's a subset of that. And once you do that, you could be at a great place. And my client, who less than 500 per episode, is thrilled. And by the way, every month we send our clients a report of how they did. Every month his numbers are going up. The percentages are going up, and he's keeping this conversion, and he's thrilled. So monetizing a podcast is not about getting a lot of downloads. And by the way, we figured out like his CPM is like $87,000 or something, where other people are getting 20. Some people are accepting 5. Think about it in those terms, and it's a really interesting place. So, yep. Mike, you always close things so well. I'm going to let you close, and then we'll head to our next one, which is 5 ways to grow your podcast followers.
Right on. All right. Well, this has been another exciting episode. Actually, the first today with my good friend Paul Colligan, podcasting master, and myself, Mike Koenigs. You can find us at paulcolligan.com. That's a good way. My name, MikeKoenigs.com. Here's what's important. We're here to entertain and educate you and help you elevate yourself and your business and your brand, and think about how you can become a category of one. So if you've enjoyed this, please like it, follow us, share, and pass it along with someone that you know who could benefit from what we've covered here. And if you've enjoyed it, definitely place some more comments here and subscribe to our podcast as well. Your podcast, Paul Colligan, is
The Podcast Report, but you get there not by going to Apple, or not by going to Spotify, or not by going to any of these brand names. You go to subscribetothereport.com, and that'll take you there for it. But subscribetothereport.com.
Right on. And I'll put mine up here because I popped them in. We'll have to make sure we do that, Paul. There's one of my podcasts, Capability Amplifier, with my good friend, Dan Sullivan. Just did some new ones yesterday. I'm looking forward to that. And then the other one is The Big Leap with my good friend, Gay Hendricks, who wrote the Big Leap book. But they are definitely thinking podcasts. They're there to entertain, educate, get you to the next level. So, Paul, let's head out. We're going to rebroadcast. So as he just said, make sure you refresh this page. We're going to be broadcasting again in just a moment. If you're watching a replay, I'm sure it's already there. So, Paul, nice to be here with you, my friend. All right.
Pleasure, man.
See you in a bit. Bye-bye.